Toastmasters. I remember my first time going to my Wellington Toastmasters meeting. I walked in the building. It was the Office Depot at the time, and I thought I was in the wrong place. Where was the club that was so talked about running? All I saw were Office Depot members walking around helping customers. And then to the right, I see a sign saying Wellington Toastmasters. I thought to myself, am I going, what am I getting myself into? So I walk in there and I welcomed my very first Wellington Toastmasters member, Shastri Stewart. And Shastri, he came up to me with a big smile on his face and he said, "Welcome to Wellington Toastmasters. We are so honored to have you here. Please sign in and get in." I was like, wow, this is unbelievable. We've never met before. And I looked at the signing guest sheet, and I see name, M, and then the date. And I asked, hey, does M stand for married? So I put no. So I walk in and I see people of all colors, all ages, all shapes and sizes, everything. And I was nervous at the time. I walked in, I didn't know anybody, and I didn't know what to do. I just took my seat and was as quiet as possible. And that's the thing. When you first join Wellington Toastmasters, you don't really know what's going on. You have a goal, a mission, a vision that you want to be a better communicator, a better speaker, a better leader. But nobody really tells you what you do before you join Wellington Toastmasters. And that's when I heard about the mentorship program that they offered. And without the mentorship program, I don't think I would have gotten as far as I did in Wellington Toastmasters. The first person that I ever talked to that was a mentor of mine was back in Minnesota. And I didn't really understand what the word mentor meant, what that person meant to you and what they did for you. And his name was Dole. And at the time I was very lost because I didn't know what I was going to do in college. I didn't know what I was going to do in life. And Dole basically showed me the ropes to what it is to find your path, to find what you love to do and to build a path for you to get there. And that was the same thing that happened in Wellington Toastmasters. My first mentor was actually the first person that greeted me at Wellington Toastmasters, and that was Shastri. Shout out to Shastri for helping everybody at the hospital. He couldn't be here. And Shastri, I knew as soon as I met him that we clicked, and everything that he represented, everything that he did, I could acknowledge, and I could be with. We just clicked as friends and mentors. And he showed me the ropes and what to do and showed me the roles and how the meeting went. And he was just a big part of my growth in Wellington Toastmasters. And I remember our first phone call, and he called me and he said, "Hey, how you doing, Henry? And what can I do to help you?" And these phone calls, let me tell you, are very important because my first week there, I didn't know if I wanted to come back because I was so nervous. I didn't feel like very comfortable in a different environment full of strange people and that I didn't know. And Shastri, he's a person who backed me up and gave me the confidence to come back. And I want to tell you about Wellington Toastmasters is not just about having one mentor, because everyone's your mentor. Stacey, the first week, she asked me out to lunch and asked me, "Hey, what do you want to do with this club? And I want to acknowledge you as a person at this club, and I want to grow you as a person in this club. I think we can help each other." And I really acknowledged that. And our first lunch was actually at Whole Foods. And I sat down and I was just talking to her, and Stacey is just a person that can bring the best out of you that you didn't know that you had. And she could just bring out the person that likes to hide in the corner and doesn't like to show themselves very much. And she really helps you open up to what you're actually thinking and feeling. And I feel like everybody in the club does that. Every time I go to the club, I learn something new from another member. Every time I go to the club, I feel like I take a part of someone from the club and make it a part of myself. And that's just the importance of the mentorship program. And that's why it's so important that you give back as a mentor, because after you've been mentored, you want to give back just like the people that mentored you before. And I just want to thank everyone at Wellington Toastmasters for being my mentor and showing me the ropes and bringing me to the person I am today, and being able to open up to people that I care about and we share things about and open up about. And I just want to encourage everybody that if you've been mentored before, that you can shed light on people like me that just entered the club, that didn't have, that weren't comfortable at being in the club. So if you want to do the same thing, volunteer yourself as a mentor. And with that being said, I want to end the speech right there. The importance of being a mentor at Wellington Toastmasters. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. Now there will be a minute of silence for the judges to mark their ballots. So judges, do you need more time or we are good to move?
Sorry, I think we're good to go.
Our second speaker is Ian Green, Power of Table Topics. Power of Table Topics, Ian Green.
In 2012, I went to Washington, D.C. to attend a small training. Small, I mean, there were only a dozen of us with one instructor. It was a 3-day training. I thought I got to know the group very well. And the third day, I started speaking. When I did that, the instructor turned around and asked me a question out of the blue. The question was, Hyun, if that is the case, how are you going to convince your supervisor that the supervisor has to set aside money and resources, train linguists like you? Guess what I said? I said, you know, well, I am going to speak to her like that. You can imagine how stupid I felt. As soon as I went back to Florida, as soon as I came home, I became one of you, fellow Toastmasters. I joined Toastmasters. In fact, I joined 2 Toastmasters clubs. 8 years later, I do believe I came a long way. although I still have a long way to go. And happily for me, last month, the 8 years of training in Toastmasters, especially in table topics, culminated in something wonderful, again in Washington, D.C. But before that, I must tell you, actually I must confess, what I felt about table topics all along. I ran a whole spectrum of, oh, well, this is an easy thing. It's 1 or 2 minutes. I just stand up, say something. How difficult can that be? To the other spectrum, oh my gosh, I cannot do this. There was a time that I used to be scared of table topics. I thought, how could I give a well-organized speech in 1 to 2 minutes? And everything and anything in between. That's what I used to feel about table topics. And well, a lot of people, including myself, we used to focus on giving 5 to 7 minute prepared speeches. However, I did not know how well I was trained in table topics until I went to another meeting last month, February, in Washington, D.C. I was just elected to a board, an advisory board. I was one of the 12 board members that represent about 1,300 workforce. It's a pretty heavy position, and I was grateful that I got selected for that position. I was late. For my very first board meeting, I was half an hour late. As soon as I sat down, the president of the board turned around and said, Jan, glad to see you. Introduce yourself. Well, that's no big deal. I introduced myself, my name, where I'm from, what office I was from. As soon as I finished my less than a minute self-introduction, she gave me another punch, this time heavier. She said, tell the board why you decided to run for the position and what you want to do for the board. That was out of the left field that I was not prepared for the answer. However, taking all the trainings that I had in table topics in Toastmasters, I believe I gave a very good 2-minute answer to that weighty question. I said I've been reading emails from the board whenever the emails came, and I wanted to be a part of this worthy cause. That's basically what I said. The same table topics opportunity came again at the end of the day when we had to meet with a senior executive member. Well, before the meeting finished, we had to elect a vice president, and guess what? I was elected to serve as vice president, a brand new board member and elected as vice president. And I attribute that to my training, 8 years of training in Toastmasters and in table topics. Then you might ask, so do you have any tips for being better in table topics? No, I do not have any tips other than we watch how others perform. I especially watch how others perform in competitions because I see contestants in table topics in district level or area level that they bring out all the tools that they gathered in Toastmasters, the tools that I did not know. So that's maybe the tip that I want to offer, but really, please do not underestimate the power, the miracle of table topics, and always happily jump in and participate in table topics. Madam Contest Master.
Thank you, Ian. A 1 minute silence for judges to mark their ballots. Okay. So 1 minute is over. Do we need more time? So I guess we can move forward. Our third speaker for today is Jack Miller. The mission of 3 R's for change. The mission of 3 R's for change, Jack Miller.
Guess it'll work better if I unmute myself. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, today I want to talk to you about 3 R's for change. I've talked to you about it before, but it's moving along and it's something I'm really passionate about. The mission of 3 R's for change is to become a political action committee that brands rights, responsibilities, and regulations as the foundations of democracy, the structure of liberty, and the essence of justice. We'll be gathering facts, concepts, and viewpoints from scientific understandings, philosophical possibilities, and the patterns of nature. Our present streams of intention are, number one, and this is where it all started, gun rights, responsibilities, and regulations. These 3 R words, rights, responsibilities, and regulation, it kind of got started out of the shooting at Stoneman Douglas. When I look at the Second Amendment, and it clearly says you have the right to bear arms under a well-regulated militia. And I never hear about regulation other than trying to stop it and trying to make it happen on the other side of it, and responsibility. The second issue that is really important is to define what rights are. And I'm going to start with that right now a little bit because we're into a present situation with this coronavirus that has really opened up, changed, and radically shifted what we thought were rights. Clearly, we have no rights. By nature, we have 2 rights. We have the right to breathe and the right to die. Both those rights can be taken away quickly. Everything else is the rights of civilization, the rights of our tribe, the rights of our family, the rights that responsibilities give us. When we're responsible with the rights that we have, we can extend our rights. When we're irresponsible, we have to have regulators. We may not like it if the police are after us for some reason or another, the regulators. However, if they're protecting us, we're happy. Right now, we're in a situation we have regulators, the federal governments from all around the world, is here trying to protect us from a virus that knows nothing about rights. We'll come back to that a bit later. And number 3 of the 3 goals that we have is to demystify, decriminalize, and defend the right to die. It's such a sad thing. Think back to a time, most of you have probably been to a nursing home, known someone that is infirmed, kept alive for who knows how long, and it can do it with years. We have the science to keep bodies alive. The mind may die, the ability of the body to do anything may die, but we can keep it alive. Because we can, does that mean we should? Where is the moral, ethical, religious, spiritual plan at? Earlier, I mentioned studying the habits of nature. When we study the laws of nature, we see the habits of God, understanding that these things have been rolling, being part of humanity, part of nature, part of the growth of civilization. Mankind was around for about 1 million years before we even had any kind of civilization as we know it. Civilization as we know it is only about 5,000 years old. And it's interesting to note that if you go back simply a little 300 years ago, there were about 500 million people on this planet. Go back about 100 years ago, just over 100 years ago, 120, the turn of the century, there were about 1.5 million people on the planet. 1.5 billion people on the planet. Now, it's interesting to note because we're facing what is similar to what was the Spanish flu back then. With 1.5 billion people on the planet, the Spanish flu killed somewhere between 50 and 100 million people. So it was less than 10%. But it's a big number. It's a big number. It's a lot of people. They're all dead anyhow now. Everybody that was there at that time is dead anyhow. And that's the important thing to remember, that this whole idea of dying is something that is going to happen. You can't stop it. Let's start embracing it. Let's start paving the way. Right now, we're in a situation where if this thing took control and started wiping out the planet, first off, it would be doing what nature does. There's not a forest around that hasn't burnt down several times in the last several thousand years. Animal species come high, they come low. It's part of the web of nature. I'm happy. I know you're happy that we have scientific understanding. We have minds of great potential out there trying to do the right thing, to create a virus, an antivirus, a healing property, to battle with nature. Whenever we go to battle, we come out as stronger individuals, stronger tribes, stronger nations, a stronger world. One of the really grateful things that I'm really grateful for in this virus is the fact that we're finally seeing that it's not make America great again. It's join the world. Help your brothers and sisters from all over the world be great again. If you believe in God, if you believe there's one God, then it doesn't matter what religion you are. What matters is that that God is your Father, and we are all brothers and sisters. As brothers and sisters, we have a responsibility to do the right thing. The regulators are trying to force us, but they're trying to force us with a soft glove, and that's proper. If we're responsible, we're going to do what they say. Hunkering down, staying close to where you need to be, not touching, washing your hands, doing what you can, and helping your neighbors in any way you can. This is a goal to create something. My ultimate goal is to get Michael Bloomberg to take 3 R's for Change, create a software program that filters every bit of knowledge we have on the planet today through rights, responsibilities, and regulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. So we'll have a 1 minute of silence for our judges. Okay. So judges, anyone needs more time? Now we move on to our fourth speaker, Tim Morrell. Gratitude. Gratitude with Tim Morrell. Hi, Tim.
Right. I have a lot of things to be thankful for. And in particular, I have a lot of thanking to do. And I'm going to come back and get closer to this so I could be closer to you. The last time that you all heard me talk anything about the car crash that I was in a year ago was in the humor speech contest. And I found that laughter, humor is truly the best medicine and helped me deflect and get through a whole lot of things. But lately, I've been overcome by strong emotions that I could not explain until just recently. Overcome to the point to where I'd be driving along and talking to somebody just like I'm talking to you tonight, and I'd feel my face would be wet. I'd be crying, and I didn't know why. I wasn't sad. I wasn't like happy or overjoyed. It was just tears were just gushing out of my face, and I didn't know why. I started thinking about this whole concept of gratitude recently because I've kind of gotten in touch with the idea that I never understood it before. And when we have Thanksgiving, we think about it's time to give thanks. And I'm thinking about the holidays now. In our Judeo-Christian culture, we have Easter, we have Passover. Both of those seem to me to be even more appropriate for the time of giving thanks, because when you think about in both of those traditions, in the Jewish tradition, they were spared, their lives were spared, and in the Christian tradition, well, all of our immortal souls were spared by the sacrifice of Jesus. And I don't know when it first hit me, but I started thinking about what, if somebody goes through what I went through, you'd think you'd learn something. You know, maybe there's takes getting hit over the head. Well, I got hit over the head with a truck. And you think I would learn something. And I started to think, well, maybe I better learn something. And it first occurred to me right after I got back from Duke Hospital the last time, which was the week before Thanksgiving, and they gave me the word that I had gotten past all the life-threatening things. Now, the bones had healed, I wasn't going to die. So that was good, and they told me I could start working out again. And I walked into the gym with one of my best friends who owns a gym in West Palm Beach on Thanksgiving Day. And I walked in there, and that was the first time I had that experience of just crying for no reason that I could think of. And it occurred to me then that I never really understood what being thankful meant. I mean, we talk about gratitude. Stacy, our president's talked about attitudes of gratitude. I heard it tonight from Jack, as an intellectual concept of something that you think about in your mind. But never had I thought about it before as a feeling. Then I realized I hadn't thanked my son. This was just a few days ago. My son, my oldest son, came to be with me in the hospital when nobody else could be there. When I first woke up with what can only be, they call it a halo, but it's like some torture thing where they put bolts in your head and try to keep you still. And you wake up and you're filled with drugs. You're in a trapezoidal sort of room that has no windows that you can see, and you're strapped in, and you're just terrified. I was terrified. I didn't know where I was. Nothing could have explained to me. Nothing could have calmed me down. I'm sure that I would have hurt myself if it weren't for my son being there. And hearing his voice, he took a lot of time. It had to be extremely painful for him to see something. No kid should see that, at least at his age. He's very young. And now that I look back on it, I realized I hadn't thanked him. We had that talk the other day and we both ended up crying, thanking him for that. Then I think about the first person that came to see me in the hospital was a Toastmaster who told me that I would be back giving speeches. I thought she had to be out of her mind when I couldn't even figure out how to sit up in the bed. I couldn't hold a thought together for very long. And I made a point, at the last one of these Zoom meetings afterwards, I talked to her and I just told her that you don't appreciate what it is. It's not one of those things you don't know what you have till it's lost. That's too trite. It's just this overwhelming feeling that somebody was there to pull you through. So many people are by themselves. Somebody was there to pull me through. This group, this Toastmaster group, which you heard from Stacy a couple weeks ago, was a group that I was the area governor that started this group. And I look at it and here it's 20 years later. And here you are, and it pulls me through. So anyway, I am looking down here and I don't see any timer here. So I'm probably talking too long and I've already disqualified myself, I bet. I still don't see a timer.
30
but
seconds.
How many seconds? All right, well, I'm done then. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim. Now we'll have 2 minutes of silence for our judges to complete their ballots. So now can we move forward? Since our chief judge and judges are taking care of the rest of the stuff, I would like to ask a few questions from my contestants today. So
Hold
our
on.
first contestant
Sorry.
was,
Point of order. Have we finished the 2
Sure.
minutes yet? 2 minutes are finished?
yes,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome. Do they need more time?
I am going to take the silence as yes. We're good, so we'll move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Judge. So our first contestant was Henry Dow. Henry, Can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes.
I can
My
hear you.
question to you is, describe yourself in 3 to 5 words, please.
Describe myself in 3 to 5 words. Grateful. Grateful. I don't want to, why do I not want to feel like to, I want to say constantly trying to find improvement. I wanted to call myself funny, but that's just, I would just say grateful, and yeah, that's the hard, it seems like a simple question, but when you try to answer it, it's kind of hard without making yourself seem too cocky, huh?
So you said grateful, perfectionist, and funny?
I would say he's constantly trying to find improvement. I wouldn't say not perfection.
Okay. Oh, okay. Thank you, Henry. Now we move on to our second contestant, Ian.
Yes.
Can you tell us, how do you handle stress and pressure?
I do this on a daily basis. I take a deep breath and I say to myself, this shall also pass. Sometimes I am unable to do it, and I tend to hold the pressure and stress inside me, and I feel really uptight. Or luckily, I have a big yard. So I go outside, I look at the blue sky, I look at the trees, smell the fresh air, and I feel better usually. Or I call my friends.
Thank you, Ian. Now we move on to our third contestant, Jack Miller. Jack, can you hear me?
Yes.
Jack, can you tell us what are some of your strengths and weaknesses?
Strengths and weaknesses. Well, I'm a leader. One of my strengths that I've always found is I'm able to take the complex and make it simple, because that's the only way I can understand it, and that's one of my weaknesses. I can't understand too deep, but I can take deep subjects and make them a little simpler. My weakness may be that I sometimes procrastinate, take on more than I should. And my strength is that I love people, all people, and that I really have an attitude of detachment and gratitude. Tim, you talked about gratitude. You know, there was a time in my life that I learned gratitude, and there's not a day goes by that I don't take an attitude of gratitude towards everything, not just the good stuff. No matter how harsh it is, in your accident and my cancer and all of our different hardships, being grateful for the terrible things as well as the good things makes you fearless. And I choose to live fearless. Jesus said, in his watchword when he walked this planet was, fear not. When you're fearless, you fear not, and you're grateful for everything. That's an attitude of gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. And now, Tim. Tim, can you tell us what makes you so unique?
No. I don't know. That's a crazy question. I don't know. It's everybody's unique. That's the beauty of this life, isn't it? I think thinking about Henry's speech, you look around, you see so many different people, different walks of life, different ethnicities, different backgrounds, religions, demographics, everything. That's what makes life so precious too, isn't it? That every one of us is unique. I mean, people come and people go, and there's a certain, I don't know, sameness there. It's almost like snowflakes, but yet at the same point in time, every one of us is irreplaceable and special. So.
Thank you, Tim. Do we need more time, Chief Judge?
She should. I think she missed you. She was just joining back.
Okay. Chief Judge, I was just wondering, do we need more time? Do we have more time, or are we all good?
We're good to go.
Okay, so over to you now.
Oh, yes. So the moment you all have been waiting for, let me just check one more thing. Sorry. Let me share my screen to make it more dramatic. Okay. Announcing the winners of our first ever virtual contest for the Wellington Toastmasters group. In third place, we have Toastmaster Tim Morrell. In second place, we have Toastmaster Hyung Green. Can we get a loud drum roll, please, for first place? Representing the Wellington Toastmasters at the area contest held on April 18th at 9 a.m. Please give a warm round of applause for Toastmaster Jack Miller. Woo-hoo!
Awesome.
And now I'll turn it over to our club president with any closing remarks.
Thank you, Contest Master. And wow, what great speeches tonight. Incredible, moving, compelling, authentic, speaking from your hearts. I felt each one of you speak tonight. It wasn't even that we weren't in the same room. I actually felt you in the emotions that you just exuded this evening. Beautiful job to each and every one of you. I would like to thank all of our guest appearances and just call upon each one of you to share a little bit about yourself and your journey as a Toastmaster. I'm going to start with Toastmaster Sid. Please introduce yourself so graciously.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for having me here. And this is an amazing group of people I see. I've not met most of you. I know Jennifer from work. I work with her. I'm an engineer at Florida Power and Light, its parent company near. And I work in renewables. And I've been a Toastmaster for about 8 years now. And I always stayed in the club instead of, I have not visited any other clubs, or I started to do that this year because I'm an Area 42 director. So great year for me. And thank you all for having me. This is an amazing experience. Thank you. Thank you for the speakers. Each one of you are amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Sid. I'm going to turn it over to the beautiful Toastmaster Sarah.
Thank you so much for those kind words, and thank you so much for the invitation. I am, as Stacy said, my name is Sarah Cheris. I'm the director for Area 51. I am a member of 2 clubs in Miami. One is Doral Toastmasters and the other is Dade County Toasters. As far as my journey with Toastmasters, I've been a member for about, I want to say maybe a little over 2 years, almost 2.5 years, going on to 3. And it's been an amazing journey. If any of those of you present are not members and you're yes, I would definitely encourage you, because it's definitely made a difference in not only my professional life, but in my personal life. I've grown a lot, not only as a speaker, but also as a leader. It's been an amazing opportunity and an amazing journey, and looking forward to seeing what's next. And again, thank you so much for having me. You have some very talented speakers, and I look forward to joining in a future opportunity as well.
Thank you, Toastmasters Sarah. And we have the anonymous Janelle over here. Could you turn on your camera and shine your light, girl? Janelle.
Hi.
There she is.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Janelle Kalnick. I'm from Division B, and I'm an area director for Area 20 down in Division B, which is basically Coral Springs, Fort Lauderdale type area. What was the question again about Toastmasters? I missed that piece.
That's okay. You could just share a little bit about your journey with Toastmasters, what it's done for you. Being a Toastmaster.
Well, I started Toastmasters a few years ago. I was just looking to meet new people, and it seemed like a great environment to meet people that were encouraging and who were just really nice people, and I found it very, very good for that. So that's what's kept me here. That's what's kept me serving as an area director, just the wonderful people that are in Toastmasters that are so helpful and just love to help other people. So that's why I've stayed in Toastmasters. And you guys had a great contest tonight. I really enjoyed helping out. And sorry, I have to go. I was just about to type in the chat that I had to go because I have a meeting at 8 p.m. But it was great to meet you guys, and I loved helping you guys out. So
thank you. We appreciate you. We appreciate everyone so much. And
no problem. Take care, guys.
Thank you, Janelle. And our dignitary this evening, a member of our Toastmasters group, Toastmaster Jennifer, who is always there with a beautiful smile, happy to support in any area that she can, knowledgeable in all of the areas. We appreciate you as well as you shine your light and share your wisdom with us. It's appreciated. And we have a new member here who's a former member who has just come back, and that is Toastmaster Michael Genduso. I'd like to introduce to you Michael Genduso. He is, Michael, please share with us what brought you back to Toastmasters.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually, a little over 2 years ago, I think October was 2 years, I stumbled upon Toastmasters very randomly, looking at someone's profile that I knew in Facebook, and I saw that they were vice president of Toastmasters in a different area, and I was like, what in the world is Toastmasters? And so I Googled it, and I was like, wow, there's a club right here in Wellington. And I came, and that just really opened up a lot for me and led me to do a lot of other work on myself and get into some transformational work. And I wound up subsequently kind of taking a break from the club, and I really miss it. And I'm back in a space where I want to bring that back into my life, and I'm coming back, and my goal is to complete my CC this month. So thank you guys for having me back.
Great, welcome back, Mikey. At this time, I would like to thank all of you for your participation, for your presence and being here, for the reciprocation that you have given to each and every one of us. Thank you so much. I'm going to say that for next week, I don't believe we have a Toastmaster yet. Oh, who said that so quickly?
Jack.
Yay, Jack, the winner.
I've had the pleasure of speaking for the last too often, so it's time to Get out there and serve.
Great. Thanks, Jack. So Jack will be our Toastmaster next week. My request is, please, and I'm sure this is Jack's request as well. It just may be a different sounding voice at this moment from Jack. So my request is, within the next 48 hours, please sign up for your role, your functionary role, if you'd like to speak next week. I believe we already have 2 speakers, so we have 1 speaking slot left. And if you sign up next week and it's your first time doing that particular functionary role, may I remind you to please sign up for the 2 weeks, and that'll set you ahead for 2 weeks. And if you haven't spoken in the past 3 to 4 weeks, please go ahead and sign up for a speaking role. We'd love to hear from you. Michael, we will get you all situated and set up back into the setup so you can sign up for your speech as well. And I would like to again thank each and every one of you for being here. Our Toastmaster who is there for us, Toastmaster Shastri, our Sergeant at Arms, our Vice President of Membership. I just want to honor this man, and I want to honor all of our hospital workers, all of the people who are putting their lives on the line every single day right now with this coronavirus, where we're thinking that we're in a place of being in isolation. These people are out there living, eating, and breathing the air that possibly everybody else, possibly with the disease, with this coronavirus, has. So please, I'm going to ask you right now to just silence yourself and close your eyes, and just let's give 1 minute for peace for each one of them, and send out prayers to every single being on this planet, because we are all somehow, some way affected by this. Every being on this planet. Imagine that. Close your eyes and pray, guys. Thank you each for being here this evening. I'm going to share a link with you all. It has nothing to do with Toastmasters, but it is where 10 million people are getting on a meditation all at one time in the next couple of days. I'm going to send it out to you, and it's going to go across the world. So if each one of you know anything about prayers and how much those prayers work, just be mindful of everything that you are saying and put out there what you truly want and desire, because the universe hears you. And I love you all, and I honor you all, and I thank you all for being here kindly. Good night, everyone. Bye for now.
Good night.
Love your new
Thanks,
back.
everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.